we're going to talk about one of the true legends of this music. Of course, all we're talking about are legends, but some legends are more well-known than others. This is one of the more well-known legends. Miles Davis once said, "The history of jazz can be summarized in only 4 words. And those 4 words are Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker." And today we're going to talk about Charlie Parker, better known as Bird. Born in 1920 in Kansas City, Kansas. Yeah, that's right across the line from Kansas City, Missouri. Mother and father were both working people. Father was actually kind of an entertainer, singer, dancer. Was out there on the circuit for a while. And then he ended up becoming a pullman and a chef on railways for just a more steady income to support his family. Mom worked at nights in a telegraph office for Western Union. So a typical, family, probably middle class, upper middle class for black folks. Father, of course, was definitely African American. Mother was part African American and part Choctaw, Native American. So in that environment, Charlie Parker had things that other kids did not have. Early on, he decided he wanted to play the alto saxophone, and so Mom went out and bought him a brand new alto saxophone. That's something for a family to be able to do for their kid, a black family to be able to do for their kids, in the 30s. This is right after the Depression and whatnot. But she went out and bought him that saxophone, and he went to town. He was a practicer. There is a interview in which he says that at one point in his life, he practiced anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week for 3 or 4 years. So he was very serious about pursuing control of that alto saxophone. And that probably accounts for how later in life they talked about how clean, how fast, how unbelievable his technique was on the instrument as he is negotiating through this new harmonic and melodic language we know as bebop. Now, like all the other musicians in this era, he started out in the swing bands, playing local gigs. He got to that pretty quickly. He went to Lincoln High School out there in Kansas City, but did not graduate. As soon as he could get a union card, he did. And he started working, got married young, and still pursued himself the career he wanted, which was music. One of the things that most people don't know about Charlie Parker, we knew that he had a kind of drug dependency. Most people knew that, but most people did not know that it comes from an incident in which he was almost killed in a car accident on the way to a gig early in his life. And it caused some serious fractures of his spine, and he was prescribed medication and continued to use medications for pain for the rest of his life. And unfortunately, some of the medications that he used included heroin, which probably was not the very best choice to make, but it was his pain and the way he chose to treat it. And of course, as we all know, it led to an early demise for him. But that's a part of the puzzle that many people do not know. This was all stimulated by a very early and unfortunate car accident. But what that did is, while he was recuperating and being rehabilitated from that near-death experience of the car accident, he poured himself back into practicing. And he's practicing things that are advanced concepts, which led him to go to a jam session. And in the middle of that jam session, Joe Jones, that is Papa Joe Jones, launched a cymbal at him, which landed at his feet, pretty much urging him to shut up and get off the stage. Of course, Bird did that, but he went home and started practicing even more in order to make his craft a little bit more acceptable to the ears who were not, how should I say this, friendly to his approach to harmony and melody and time that was coming with the evolution of this music we call jazz and bebop. After playing in big bands in Kansas area, he finds himself in New York doing the same thing. We all know Cab Calloway and the Hines Band. He played to those big bands where he met Dizzy, and together they created this new bebop music. Great innovator in terms of harmony. Alternative harmony. Even on the blues, there are changes for tunes like Blues for Alice that we just know as Bird changes. He had his own harmonic language, his own sense of substitute chords and alternative extensions and alterations of harmony, and because he was such a prolific practicer of his instrument, he could execute anything that he thought. He also loved classical music, and this led to a period of his life where he recorded with strings, just beautiful tunes like I Remember Paris and Porgy and Bess and things like that, with a stringed accompaniment. His sound could be bluesy and harsh and dark, or it could be sweet and bright and clear, and he used all of his sonic palettes in the albums he created with strings, which kind of led to third stream music, which is simply a collaboration of jazz with classical music influences. Bird was there for that too, a new innovation that led to the music we know as third stream, probably comes from his early collaboration with strings as an accompaniment for those particular albums. What can we say about a guy who gave us Yardbird Suite, Ornithology, so many other great, Minnie the Moocher? We can just go on and on. His compositions are standard pieces of study for all jazz musicians, and his method books, all the transcriptions that are out there, the Omnibook, etc., that's also basic repertoire for all young jazz students. And so I guess Miles Davis could be right. If you want to get the history of jazz in just a few words, you start with Louis Armstrong and you got Charlie Parker, and that's pretty much how it goes, and everything we do comes out of those four names. I can't say enough about the influence that Bird has had over the music and the musicians. One of my favorite clubs to go to is Birdland in New York. But Charlie Parker had clubs being named for him while he was still alive. So he was most certainly a living legend, despite all of his demons, including the addiction. Like Monk, in the final years of his life, he was cared for by Baroness Nika in her apartment in New York City, and that is where he died at the age of 35 years of age, just kind of sick and tired of not having the commercial success that his genius would suggest he should have had, and also by having a dependency that, let's just say, destroyed his body over time. Thank God we're left with hundreds and hundreds of recordings and manuscripts and testimonies and all sorts of tributes to this great genius, Charlie Bird Parker. And why was he called Bird? Because he loved chicken, that's why. Yes, he loved himself some fried chicken. That probably didn't help him, his body a little bit anyway, especially with the other stuff he was doing. But you know what? At least when he had some fried chicken in his hand, he was a happy man. Bird was not always seen with a smile, but whenever he put that instrument in his mouth, everyone near him smiled, because he was truly the mad scientist and the genius at work, expressing himself through his music. Charlie Parker. Thank you.